Yeah.
There you go, just for you. Just for you, Tim. Technical difficulties before we even got on. Right, good evening, everybody. There may be a slight audio feedback loop on me. I can hear it, and I think it's something to do with the studio suite that I'm using. I hope it isn't too annoying for everyone if you can hear it. If you can, I apologise. Anyway, good evening.
I've got a fly in my room. That's going to annoy the shit out of me.
Well,
I'm going to have to kill it in a minute.
To be fair, if it's as loud as everything else in your room, the freaking internet will hear it. I'll give me some feedback on David's audio, everybody. For me, he's a bit loud. He's not clipping out on OBS, however, so I think OBS is probably capping him.
I can turn my gain down if that makes it better.
I mean, I'm not too concerned. Orinoco says you're too loud, so you might want to down gain a fraction.
I've downed a bit. Is Orinoco? Tell me when. Tell me when.
That sound better. Yeah, I know. Hello, everybody. Yes, Tim. We know David sounds like he's in a tin can. That's his new. He's currently living in a house sans furniture, so every room in his home is.
No. I have furniture. I broke the bed. I moved the bed and then I broke the bed. I jumped into bed the other night and fucking nearly ripped the headboard off the board. So I've got to repair it all.
Sexual athlete. Yeah. So
bullshit.
David's a little bit echoey. Yeah. So it's a project for future David to sort out. And I've just realised our texts. We don't have our little text monikers on, people. I don't know why that is.
Because you're an incompetent buffoon.
Just let me have a look. I will reinstate those before next week. I don't know why they're not up, but
oh, spam's wandering in.
So let's get the show on the road. Let's let enough fucking navel gazing and talking to ourselves. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Yellow Belly Tabletop hobby live stream on a Thursday night. Just having a shout out to everybody in chat. Hello, Tim. Stroke some dude on YouTube. Hello, Orinoco. Hello, Darren. Hello, Paul Howells. Hello, Spam. So yeah, good to see all you guys here. So for those of you who've not been here before or are catching up later on YouTube, let's give you a rundown. Over the next couple of hours, David and I are going to be going over our usual format. First thing we'll do is show you what we're going to be working on while we sit and talk tonight, because we always like to get a little bit of hobby done if we can. I'm going to have to straighten this sign because it's really annoying me that it's on the wonk. That's better. Then we will have a brief discussion. To be honest, it will be a very brief discussion about what we did at club, because we want to make that probably the main topic. So it'll just literally be a headline. Then there is only a couple of news items that we're going to cover, a couple of things that are active at the minute on the internet that we thought might be of interest. Then we will just interact with you guys, chat with the chat, and waffle pointlessly till around 9 o'clock, when we'll get into our main topic.
We're going to go for a foray.
Yes. And as you can tell by the thumbnail, our main topic is going to be
Dungeon Saga Origins.
Dungeon Saga. Sorry, I'm looking at the chat. So Crispin's joined us. Hello, Crispin. Stroke because of Ben. Really liked your troll. My troll? The hobby hangout. I didn't see it. I will have to have a look at that. Oh, and we will be covering that. Yes, thank you, Paul. Well reminded. We will be, in fact, we'll come to that when we come to it. But yes, we will be covering our painting competition which we're running through our local game club as well. So, do you want to go first with what you're working on, mate?
Well, I would, but for some reason my phone's not auto-rotating, so come back to me. You do you first.
I was going to say, your camera was fine, and now it's a little bit squiffy. Mine, so let's go to my desktop cam. Mine is going to be more of the same. Same as last week. We're still working on this ship. I have got another little job to do, but I don't think I'm going to get round to it. I'm in one of those situations where basically whatever that was, that whistled.
I've sorted it.
I have got a ton of priming to do, so these, I don't think I'm going to get to it, but I got all of the dwarf pirate models that I got gifted at Christmas from Ricky. They're all now based with their beach sand basing, so they need priming. I've dug out my 3rd edition Space Hulk Terminators, so they need doing for the Dungeonalia hobby event we're running on Tabletop. And I've got my painting competition entry, which I guess I'll cover that I'll talk about that when we talk about the painting comp. So, did you sort your camera out, mate?
Oh, I did sort my camera out. I don't know if you can see, but let's go.
Yeah, we don't talk about the gold edging, Darren. It did take absolutely forever.
So tonight we will mainly be painting Dungeon Saga minis, because we did a fairly good job last week.
Yeah, we got to play with them with some paint on, and I must say, mate, they are looking absolutely amazing in the flesh.
Contrast on capes, anybody?
That I think that one was a Vallejo Express, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
Yeah, I don't think that's too bad. I mean, it's not. Again, the shading hasn't exactly followed where you wanted it precisely, but it's a difficult.
I mean, better than the Sigvold Burgundy from Citadel.
Capes and large flats, things like that, are an absolute pain in the arse with those sort of speed paint products. I don't think any of them does a fantastic bang up job. So basically you're ploughing on with the miniatures you've got there. So you've got the main characters and some goblins. They're looking
we got
really
the goblins
good,
to get on.
Actually, the other thing you could do is when we get through the news and that, you can have a brief chat, if you like, about your basing dilemma.
Oh yes, because we'll come to that later, but notice round bases for playing a square game, which again, main topic o'clock, plus dungeon themed but smooth white plastic because I primed it. So we'll come to that later.
Yeah. Whatever.
Before you will require, let me put my teeth back in. You will require the salt shaker. I am just warning you.
Okay. Where are we? Main scene. Let's just check that we're ready to go. Oh, he's going to be seasoned. He's going to be well seasoned, everybody. Club. So, basically...
New Year 2024, first Monday of the year. Let's play a board game. What did we play, Paul?
Well, as you can probably tell by the thumbnail, we decided to take David's Dungeon Saga Origins out for a spin. And briefly, it was myself and Ricky as players. Okay, the audio is bad tonight. I don't know what else to do. That's muted.
Is that any better?
Keep going down, mate. Keep going down. Yeah.
How's that?
Still sounds plenty strong enough for me. I am going to actually hang up my desk
Where am
cameras.
I?
I am going to see if that it does not fix the echo.
There we go. Better?
Yeah, you can
Better?
see, yeah, it's still fine with me.
Better?
Yeah. There is like a background hum as well. I don't know if that's coming from your room. Yeah. Hello, Cheese Me. Hello, Cheese Me. Is that your PC fan or something?
Yeah, it's PC fans.
Yeah, you're still plenty loud enough, mate. Although my echo may have gone, which means I know what the problem is. Somehow my mobile is picking up some sort of bleed feed and feeding it in when it should be throwing in zero. It should be throwing in zero audio signal. So that's that little mystery solved. It does mean, however, I won't be able to do desktop cam anymore, but that's fine. Okay, well, we're making progress.
Yeah.
Thank you for bearing with us, everybody, and for those of you who are helping us with the feedback, you're legends, and it's
Right.
great to get the
Give me 2 seconds, Cheese Me. Let me wash my brush out, and I will.
So yeah, while David, we will come back to Dungeon Saga Origins because obviously it's our main topic. We've got a lot to say. Let's put it that way. While David's doing that, let me quickly cover the news. Because to be fair, we don't really have much to talk about tonight. So the first thing that I wanted to say was we discussed it briefly last week, and obviously Tim alluded to it in the chat, why we're not talking about Games Workshop when everybody else on the internet's talking about the old world and Games Workshop. I'll be honest, simply because I'm going to keep my powder dry until I play it. As I said, if you want to see some great coverage, I would suggest, if you're not already familiar with the channel, that you go and visit Mountain Miniatures. So this channel is run by Steve. That's already loads better, mate, if you can hear me. This is run by Steve from Mini Wargaming. This is sort of like his personal channel. It is just Warhammer Old World coverage.
Right.
Have you just covered your PC with something?
Yes.
It is better. Give us a feedback in the chat. Anybody think that's an improvement? I think it is.
Rob the small child's blanket.
It's still audible just, but it is better. As I say, if you want some great coverage about the old world, go to Steve's channel here, Mountain Miniatures. There's loads on here. He's covered, he's done battle reports, he's done specific things like magic and the actual factions. This is a good video for people who are familiar with the old world rulebook first impressions video 5 days ago. It's a summary of rules changes for and important headline rules for people who've played previous editions. So if you're an old schooler who wants to know, yeah. Well, at least if David's feed cuts out, we know that's because his PC's overheated and the CPU's gone. But
You'll be fine.
Tim says it still sounds the same. Fucking bat ears. We'll keep trying to work on it, Tim. I'm going over to David's on Saturday. I'll basically soundproof the room. We'll sort something out. And so yeah, Warhammer the Old World, it's everywhere. Everybody's talking about it. if there's a person whose opinion I value, it's Steve. This man knows his Warhammer Fantasy. He's quite a fan of it, so I'm excited to try it. One thing I will say, one thought I will share now. One of the changes they've made is they've gone in previous editions of Warhammer Fantasy. You had what was called stepping up. So the order which models fought in combat was determined by their initiative. And if you fought first and killed enemy models in the front rank, the chair is another issue, Orinoco. We know about the chair.
Hey, I'm moving. It's the quietest it's ever been. I can really not. I found the quiet position.
What was I going to say? So you now, if you lose models in combat, I mean, you've just... What have you cranked your gain on your microphone down to, David?
Like halfway round.
Turn it down to about a quarter, because you're still incredibly loud for me.
Better?
Right. Yeah, a lot. That is a lot better for me. So
the feedback of the PC gone as well now, boys and girls?
It's still audible as a faint hum, but it is better than it was. A saw to disassemble the old chair. Not a bad call. So anyway, stepping up. So when you yes, okay, Tim, no change for you. And to be fair, Spam did say that the PC audio was, or the buzzing was still really loud. So anyway, stepping up. So maybe he's feeding the wrong mic into OBS. Let me just down gain. Let me do that on your audio feed in OBS. I'm turning David down actually in the OBS front end, so I'm tweaking his audio down. Now OBS is showing me that it's not even going above about minus 20 dB, but you'll have to let me know if that is now too quiet. Okay.
I've got the input off my end from my mic.
Can everybody still hear David clearly? Because as I say, he's clipping out at like minus 20 dB. I've ramped him down.
It's just turn me down. I'm going to get ranty later. So I turned all my gain down, and it's your end.
Well, I basically, even with you modifying the gain, they're saying that you're way better, even turned down that far. So you must be pushing such a high signal. It's as long as it's coming through for them, that's all that matters. Stepping up. So you fight at your initiative value. If you kill models in the enemy unit, they effectively die in the front rank. So those models will not get to fight in that combat phase. Okay? In 8th edition, basically you still fought first with your higher initiative, but it was assumed that models that were stepping up to fill the gaps could still fight. Okay? So the net result was that there was way less advantage to having high initiative, because if you had a big unit of 30 or 40 models, you still would not remove models to fight back at you
quick enough.
So if they had high strength, high weapon skill, if they had high stats everywhere except initiative, the initiative made fuck all difference, really. And one of the criticisms that was levelled at 8th edition was that initiative never mattered except for testing against a few really awful stupid spells like Dwellers Below, when it was a check against stat to avoid being destroyed. Yeah, Darren's got it right. Reminds me of The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. That sounds better. Did you work out the controls? No, we just stopped fiddling with.
Gets better than that because you never go anywhere without your towel.
Anyway, so that's one big change. They've reintroduced the fact that if you fight first and kill stuff, ones that step up don't fight. Great, but if you watch any of the battle reports from the new edition, one of the problems with this is you've got to track very carefully what died where, so that it doesn't start getting attacks that it's not entitled to. And it makes it really pulls back on the pace. It makes close combat, yeah, it makes close combat really fiddly. Again, back in the day when this was built into the system, in 3rd edition, for example, I think it was still in 4th and 5th, armies were way smaller, units were way smaller. So because you only had about 10 models, 15 models each side in the combat, it didn't matter that much. When you're trying to play huge games, which Mountain Miniatures do a 3,000 point game, it's just the pacing that the slowing down of the game means that those games take forever. So I foresee that this new version of Old World Warhammer is going to be much more familiar to those of us who played 3rd, 4th and 5th edition. Small units, 20-man units are going to be big, and you're not going to be playing fucking huge games of like 2,000-3,000 points. I think you're going to be capping yourself out a lot quicker, because otherwise you're never going to get through a game in like a 4-hour session. You know, they're going to be all day events. So that's the only thing I will pass comment on at the minute on Old World. I'm sure I'm going to have loads more thoughts after I've played it for a bit, but currently that's really my only thought. The other thing I would say is I think David's going to like it. I think you will like it. And I'm hoping. I liked
8th though, didn't I?
Yeah, you just didn't like the magic system, and and basically they have fixed that with this new version of it.
System, I just didn't like the randomness of it,
and also the fact that it did dominate the whole game.
But as I said to you, Oathmark is too low fantasy for me.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I think this version of Old World could be the rank and flank game of choice for you, because I think that you will find that it's got the high fantasy, the model counts are manageable, you'll get some really weird and wacky zany monsters and war machines. To be honest with you, Tim, I'm still always up for playing old versions of Fantasy Battles. But Old World, again, the other thing is I don't know how I'm going to deal with the basing stuff. I'm not rebasing any shit. So it's either
just trays.
It's either creating padded movement trays like David said, or there'll be some workaround anyway. That is something that is a problem, I think, Limburger, because if you want a game system that's going to create a massive epic gaming experience where you can fill a table with models and still have a game that works, this isn't the system. Because I was thinking about this earlier. If you want to field literally 300 models aside, go mad 6x4, 8x4, and just go at it, Kings of War. But it isn't going to be this. It's not going to be this. I think that once you get big armies, games are just going to grind forever. Because that's the other thing, it's grindy. It takes forever to kill stuff. And I just...
Oh, it's got the old AOS problem.
That, yeah. I mean, they've added... Again, basically what they've done is reskin 3rd edition combat. So you've got like the falling back in good order, which was a thing where you lost combat, you pushed back 2 inches. Even if you didn't rout, you got pushed back, and then you got to reposition. They've reintroduced a lot of old stuff, but yeah, I think that's going to be the thing, Limburger. Small scale games, comparatively small scale games. I still think it'll be a good system and it'll give you good games, but don't go fucking mad, because you'll be there all day.
If we were going to go mad, it'd be a day or an evening event where we've got like 6 hours to kill, get over to yours for 6, play the game.
Yeah, I mean,
in club, when we only have 4 hours, including setup and tear down of the table, games need to play in 3 hours roughly.
Definitely, and that's an issue with getting the game played. It's all very well to say, oh yeah, it's a fantastic start at 10 o'clock in the morning, not done till 10 o'clock at night. When are you going to play those games? Twice a year? On your birthday and fucking, I don't know, a bank holiday? You know, a game system that's going to see some table presence needs to have that full gaming experience that you can compress into 2 to 3 hours max. That's what most people... That's what most people can do on a regular basis. Normal human beings.
At games we rate on stream.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean,
Gaslands. Yes, we have homebrewed some of the Frostgrave games to get better play, but that again comes out of the fact that it's a multiplayer experience and the fact that it was only ever really designed for 20 miniatures on the table at any one time.
I totally sympathise with that, Darren. You're dead right, mate. I mean, I don't know if we necessarily go on about it much at all, but playtime is huge. You know, games because again, this was my issue with 40k. When you can play a 1,000-point game of 9th edition 40k and not finish in 3 hours, you're on turn 2, turn 3. It's like, what? No, I'm done. You know, pretty much.
Some of that might be due to the fact that you're unfamiliar with the rules to begin with.
Yeah,
but
maybe.
Even the lads that are seasoned and salted veterans.
Yeah, maybe.
Were struggling to fit the games in. Do you know what I mean? I don't think it was exclusively you that was having that issue.
My only indulgence game where I give it a pass consistently is Malifaux. I struggle to finish Malifaux games in the club sessions. We often only get just over halfway through, but ultimately I give Malifaux a pass because it is partly my fault. I don't play enough of it, I don't know my faction well enough, and it's got a very sophisticated scoring system. If I gave Malifaux more time, I could get the play speed up, but I just don't. Do you know? Yeah, I mean, both Limburger and Darren are really on the same page. So they're basically saying the thing is with these rank and flank games, you need to have big army feels. So you need that sense of scale. And I think you guys are totally right. I think there are so many good little small skirmishy games now. Again, it comes to what are you bringing to the table? This game, you've got to say to this game system, what are you bringing me? What are you offering us? And
it's funny because we had this discussion Monday night at Mackey's with Ricky, didn't we?
Yeah, we did.
Be quite critical of stuff, and more on that later.
Yeah, and then Tim says here he's currently happy with the approximate 2-hour sessions of BattleTech, set up and play, put away. You're dead right, Tim. For me, if I've got everything back in the box and we're done by like 9:30, and I've literally got 30 minutes to chill before we shut the doors at club, that's where I want to be. I don't want to be speed rolling dice at 5 to 10 to try and get through something. and then rushing to chuck everything in a box. Because it just, for me, it just sort of taints the experience. You don't want that stress at the end of your evening, even with a good game. So no, I totally think you're spot on. There's only one other piece of news, and this is for you, mate, really, isn't it? David's
Grid City from our friends at Saucerman Studios.
Yep.
New Kickstarter coming soon. It's fully integral with all of the shit that they did for Flatline City. There looks to be a lot more Japanese theme from the stuff that they're doing. On their Instagram, they've even done a painting tutorial showing off some of the stuff. My only criticism so far from what I've seen on Instagram, yes, it's called Grid City, but fuck me, is it very cubey?
why? Where's the name from? Is that because it's designed to be like a block-like layout where everything goes on a grid?
I'm fairly sure, yes.
Okay, so that is sort of, they're leaning into that theme then, mate. Really, aren't they?
Yeah.
The multiple games thing is a good point as well, Tim, because that's what I was going to say a minute ago about Frostgrave. Some of the Frostgrave scenarios, because it works out that way, you can get 2 games of Frostgrave in a club session, as long as you prep.
Fucking hell, we've dragged him out of the woodwork. Heretic stuff is 3D printing.
Yeah, we don't do 3D printing. 3D printing.
You wait until you have 3D printed ASMR on fucking stream on a Thursday.
Yeah, and Trench Offensive.
Your evening.
I mean, God, Paul, I think when we played your game, we played 3 games. And that was our first session.
Because we played 2, me and you, and then Nat came in for
That's right,
game
yeah.
3 we do.
That's right, yeah, because he was interested in giving it a try, so we ran a 3rd game to show people off. But I mean, again, that sort of thing's fantastic. Being able to run
thing at all.
No. Being able to run multiple games.
We said it before, it was one of the things we quite liked about Hobgoblin until we broke the game.
Yeah.
Was the fact that it was a rank and flank game that you could re-rack and play 2 or 3 scenarios in an evening.
Yeah.
I think Oathmark is similar.
Yeah, Oathmark plays very quick.
More familiar with the rules and the fact that we'd probably have a bigger army than what we had for the demo game that me and you played.
Because we did really have small scale forces, didn't we? So I'll just have to take a drink. Oh, schoolboy error. I don't drink from this one. I drink from this one.
Oh, he's showing off the Prezi, Sam.
Thank you very much to Spam and Egg and her daughters for my fantastic Christmas presents. So now I won't make any schoolboy errors when I'm painting at my hobby desk. Currently just got a little drop of whiskey in here. Not in the paint water, obviously, because that wouldn't be very good for my brushes, but in that one.
I don't know. Alcohol's quite a good cleaning agent.
Painting competition. So we mentioned it last week. Our local gaming club. Yeah. Limburger saying 2 hours is good. So we said about it last week. Our gaming club runs an informal, just for the glory painting competition every month. First Monday.
Yeah, so
yeah, that's true.
Scheme is named for a month, and it is then judged on the first Monday club session in the next month. So, for example, January's competition would be judged on February the 5th.
Okay.
For those at home following along.
Now, obviously, the judging and the scoring will be done at our club event on February the 5th. Basically, everybody who attends the event gets a vote. You put your vote into your cup or bag or whatever, dice in a cup, and then whoever wins gets the kudos on our club Discord. But what I'll do is I will throw it open to you guys as well. So if you want to join in and come along with us, The theme for this month is new toys. New toys. So we like to keep our themes quite vague, which gives people the freedom to paint from any system. Ultimately, the purpose of the paint competition for our club is to just inspire people to put a paintbrush on a model and get some work done. So we want to keep the gateposts as wide as possible. I've had to kill my mobile because of the stupid audio feedback, but my entry, which you can't very well see because it's fully silhouetted, is my Christmas present from David. So David bought me my first God tier models. So
is this for this coming month?
yes. So my new toys will be my first models for the God tier game, which is Sneaky Pete the Goblin. He has. So you get the sort of the main character model. You get, is it a banner or totem? What's it called, mate? A banner. You get a banner model, which is part of the game mechanics. It's essentially just sort of like it varies with the different faction boxes, but I think his is like a wooden cross with like a tentacle wrapped around it. Pardon me. And then he's got, I think it's 3 little skirmishy dudes, sort of like assistant goblins that run, sneaky critters that run around.
Followers.
Yes.
What they're called in game.
Follower models.
The followers are 28mm scale. Sneaky Pete is 54.
Yeah, that's a 50mm round he's on. So they're pretty chunky boys. So yeah, that's going to be my entry for the paint competition this month. So if you guys want to join in, anybody who's watching us now live or watching us later on YouTube, I have put our email address in the description under this video here. So as long as you mail me a photo before February the 8th, was it, mate?
5th.
February the 5th, whichever the first Monday in February is, basically. If you email me a picture before then, we will use them on the stream following that Monday, and we will sort of like show off all of your work as well. Yeah, do you know what, Darren? However you justify new toys is totally up to you.
Well, my entry, seeing as we spoke about your entry,
I will also say, hang on,
Dungeon Saga stuff.
Before we move on though, I will also say, if you want to DM me pictures in the Discord for On Tabletop, because I know a lot of you guys are On Tabletop members, you can do that as well. I will get them from there too. Okay, mate, over to you.
I'm doing my Dungeon Saga stuff as my new toys.
Okay.
Because it's part of the Dungeonalia that I'm doing, and let's just get churning. Let's get going.
Okie doke. So you're basically gonna put in what you can get painted. I suppose they are new toys, aren't they? Sweet.
Yeah, they are.
So, what's the time now? It's coming up at 22. Do you know what I'm gonna have to do? You entertain the folks, because I'm gonna have a comfort break. Because, long story short,
could enter her first ever paint.
You could.
Job.
You could. That's a thing you could do. Another little bit of news, not directly related, but I've had a bit of a personal disaster over the last couple of days. One of my dogs was rushed in for emergency surgery because he had a bowel blockage, and I've been looking after him all day and doing his meds and stuff, and I've forgotten to have a pee before I came on air. So I'm going to have to dash off for a comfort break. So David will now start juggling.
Serenade.
He'll start juggling raw eggs. Go, David.
No, fuck off. So what are people's thoughts for paint and comp for those that are considering entering? Obviously, we've got Darren shouting out what he wants. Spam with her Song of Ice and Fire minis that she had turn up. No, she won't send gifts to the judge because it will just be. She'll do it in person. She'll just do it at Monday at club. I can't remember what I was doing now. Express Colour Palette. That's what I was looking for. Yeah, I think for me, the reason I'm doing the Dungeon Saga stuff is just to start chipping in and. Fair. That is a fair point, Tim. It was Caribbean turquoise that I'm looking for. There it is. Fucking hell. Paul may go out and buy a new mini. It can't have been Caribbean turquoise. Bullshit. Oh, I've got to lean off the chair, boys and girls. I'm going to go out. Oh, for fuck's sake. There we go. That's better. It wasn't that Caribbean turquoise. It was that one. What are you thinking about buying, Paul? We need a new box on your bingo cards. Taking a swish. Well, he's old. He can't help it. At least he's not got his incontinence bag fitted. Just saying. Chaos and shoes. I mean, you're here, Tim. Chaos always in shoes when you're here. I'm using a very nice sable brush. We can fuck that off.
Right.
I've done the entertaining.
Well done. Congratulations.
I've lent that shot a couple of times.
Right.
I drop minis on the floor. I can't help it.
Paul Howells, I may buy a new mini. Yeah, don't say that we are to blame, mate. Just because you're spending your money. Thanks very much, Darren. Dog's fine. Just in case anyone's worried, he went through the surgery fine. And I'll tell you something. Here's public service announcement for anybody who has dogs. We thought Stanley, who's been in the surgery, he's a terrible one for nicking socks. Bertie keeps tipping over bins, and actually the other night they went through the bin in the kitchen, so they were basically grazing on that all night. So we had all sorts of nightmare scenarios of whatever was blocking his bowel. Do you know what it turned out to be? A dog chew, a log. You know those log chews that have got like a white outer coating with a brown granular centre? A chunk of that was blocking his bowel. So if you buy those for your dog, stop buying those for your dog because they're bloody dangerous. Yeah, a sock stealing goblin. Should have called him Dobby, not Stanley. Fucking bastard. Anyway, have another drink.
He's driving you to drink already, mate.
He is. Well, no, not him, but the 1,100 quid vet's bill is.
Yeah.
Because that's a thing.
Same
Right.
as rawhide.
We don't. Those rawhide, like pig's ear things, and you get little purses and all sorts. We don't let them have that. But
I'm fairly sure that
Tim,
snake won't like that.
So Tim has now become the official Harry Potter lore master here on Yellow Belly Tabletop. Well done, Tim. Congratulations. Radam Rawhide. Okay, right. We need blue paint. We need a brush. Let's get on with it.
Get on with it.
So yeah, that's painting competition covered. Fuck all in the news because I don't know if anybody else is finding this. What the hell is going on with the world? Sort of like, come on, people. Give us something to talk about.
They're not here for your entertainment, Ginge.
Fucking.
Chicken feet and goosenecks. Jack loves them.
I tell you, I'm being deadly serious, Spam. I said to the missus, any kind of dog treat, if I can't drop it in a glass of water and in 5 minutes it's effectively dissolved and mush, I ain't giving it to my dogs anymore. That
Because you had
because
similar previously with like pig's ears, didn't you?
well, the problem, yeah, because they choke on them, because they try and swallow them, they get them sort of softened up, and try and swallow the damn things, and then they end up gagging and spewing them back up. And the thing is, we've had so many near misses, we just don't bother with that sort of shit anymore. And I suppose it was inevitable that eventually something would go in and then not come out, and it just had to happen. But it's a bloody expensive business.
How big is the dog, Darren? It's a dachshund.
It's
not
a
miniature dachshund, just a dachshund.
It's so to give you a rough idea, mate, they're 12 to 15 kilo. They're about, I don't know, 24 to 30 inches chest to hock.
Tim has been sacrilegious.
So why is that sacrilegious? Tim, feel free to do whatever hobby you do or do not want to do.
Usually all over it like a rash, though.
Do you know what, mate? It's nothing to be apologetic for, sir.
Right.
To be fair, he did go down very well at the vets. Basically, we sort of walked in the reception and said, we're here to see Stanley, and then everybody's like, oh, he's gorgeous, oh. It's like, yeah, he is, he's a little tosser.
Take that comment back. He's
What?
a dickhead.
Yeah.
He won't let Paul touch his missus without growling.
He's a strong personality, let's put it that
He
way.
gets jealous if I touch another dog.
Yeah, Dachshunds are a bit possessive, as anybody who's owned one will know. And Stanley's definitely a Dachshund.
What was I doing?
So yeah, I don't think there's anything else that I wanted to chat about, mate, other than the main topic. I'll be honest, Tim. I am doing very little hobby at the minute. I tell you what I am doing. At the moment, I am getting a bit obsessed with Arkham Horror Living card game. So I've created myself a little setup in my hobby storage room where I've basically taken a load of storage totes and put a battle mat across it to create a mini table, so that it's constantly set up, and I keep sneaking in there whenever I get a spare hour and a half and just running through scenarios and
Right. I will BRB because I think I've just had a knock at the door.
Okay, mate. We'll see you in a bit. My turn to entertain the crowd. So that's what I'm doing. Oh dear. So you're still sorting out miniatures to get rid of, Darren. Nervosa Games. Paint it like Santa offer. To be fair, actually, painting it like Santa, if knowing what Spam's actually got to paint, painting it like Santa's not such a bad idea. Because, I mean, it might be a bit immersion breaking, but at least you've got the red in there. Hey, Spam. Because I imagine that's, what is it, red and black, your core colours. Although, having said that, the army that you've got is probably the only army in the game where actually there isn't a great deal of uniformity across painting, because obviously everything's so weird and a bit specific. Because I don't know if everybody's knows. I think she said last time she was on stream, or we were on stream, but Spam's got the Targaryen army starter for A Song of Ice and Fire, and obviously Targaryen house colours are red and black. But I mean, again, I'm not sure what's in the army because I don't own any Targaryen myself. I've just got Lannister, Stark. That's pretty much it. A lot of the original stuff. But I mean, things like the Unsullied have a very unique paint scheme. Dothraki have a very barbarian and earth tone scheme. Yeah, I think, yeah. I don't know who's knocking on David's door. Somebody, unless somebody sent him something via Amazon. To be fair, it's crazy. I literally took an Amazon delivery about 5 minutes before we came on stream. Those guys worked through the bloody night. Oh, there's the chair. There's a miniature falling on the floor. It's like some fucking Hitchcock movie, isn't it? Very, yeah, how very you, Ewok.
And just like that, I'm back in the room.
Yeah, we heard you, mate, 5 minutes ago when that chair basically started throwing a fit.
Fuck you.
I'm just saying. So who was at the door?
Neighbour, DPD have been ever so helpful. Tried to deliver a parcel. Told him it's with a neighbour, but not A, put the address on, and B, the proof of delivery is it yeeted over a fence. So I've just gone and had a look in my back garden for him, and it's not in the back of my garden.
Oh my god. Yeah, that's really good.
DPD.
That's good service. Thanks, guys. Good job. Good job.
I like my squeaky chair. At least it lets you know I'm here.
Well, as long as you like it, mate, because nobody else does.
I need to get rid of it. It's pissing me off. So, it's 7 minutes to the hour.
Yeah.
Should we start getting salty?
I guess we're gonna have to, aren't we?
Yes, we
Let
are.
me get right. I'm literally one mouse click away from. See Paul Howell's comment: drop, pound, destroy are a great delivery service. I like that. I like that. That's probably the best acronym.
That's CPD's new algorithm, isn't it?
Yeah, new acronym.
Evening, Dan. So, we played Dungeon Saga.
Just tell everybody, because I don't really know, which missions we played. Because it was the green campaign book, was it?
Yes, it was Glimmer of Greed, the Goblin one.
Right, that's the campaign. Yeah.
So, can we burn said chair in ceremonial celebration when you get a new one? No, because this is going to be your chair for painting on spam.
No paint on stream then.
So it is designed to be one that follows on from the equivalent of the Dwarf King's Quest scenario, because basically what they've done, even though it's a prequel, is take the original sort of proviso of the game and it follows on from Dwarf King's Quest. Consequently, it recommends that you be leveled up to play it. So in the first game we leveled up, you took a trip to the merchant, etc., didn't you?
Yeah, that's right. We had
over the fact that it said about legendary items. More on that later. And then in game 2, because you actually got through that one fairly quickly, we did a game 2. In game 2, I gave you some legendary items that you picked at random from the deck, and more on that later. Spam and egg do a long. Spam, take it to the rage room, and then you can beat shit out of it.
So yeah, obviously we played the first 2 scenarios of that. Is campaign the correct word? Is that how it's described?
Yeah, it kind of is.
So we played the first 2 of the All That Glitters campaign. Obviously, it's nice because it had it's sort of explained at the beginning. If your characters are starting out, you need to give them 400 gold and a couple of experience. And as David said, there is a recommendation on Legendary that you hand out random Legendary magic items to pump their power level so that they won't just get completely crushed as opening level characters. All that I think worked quite fine, didn't it, mate? That's good. I think probably the first game was longer than the second scenario, but we'll get to why in a bit. In terms of now, I think we also should say that we've both... I think we can call this a review. David and I have both played significant amounts of the OG Dungeon Saga, haven't we, mate?
Yes.
We've probably played 20 games.
Played with it, tweaked it, done a hell of a lot with it.
Yeah, and we've created custom scenarios, both of us. We've run it as player and overlord. We've played it as player and overlord in both cases. So we've got a fairly strong grasp of what
where we're coming from.
The original Dungeon Saga was and its potential. So I think that's fair to get that out there, because what we're saying does come from a position of even though we've only played 2 games of this, we do understand very much the heritage and what it was.
Because, as commented about before on our other streams, we did some tweaking and refinements.
Now let's be positive, mate, before we get the salt cellar flying.
No. I'm just saying, again, we know where we're coming from in the fact that we tweaked and refined.
Yeah. No, I wasn't arguing that. I was just
negative.
Yeah, I wasn't getting at that. I was just sort of saying, in terms of how we approach this, let's get the positives out the way first, or let's discuss the things that we're actually quite chuffed with. I will go first, if that's all right with you.
No, it's my game, bitch.
I like the new miniatures. Now, I know that they're a bit upscaled, which makes potentially compatibility issues with the old stuff. But I don't think
Yeah.
it can be argued that the quality of the sculpts and the quality of the miniatures is, I wouldn't probably go as far as say a country mile above the old ones, but it is a significant step up.
They're harder plastic, harder compound, less mold lines and flashing, and less bendy.
Much crisper sculpts. They hold the details have taken really well. They look absolutely great with contrast paints on them, which I think is a testament to the quality of the miniatures, because I think one of the things that does significantly impact the effectiveness of those speed paint, contrast paint, whatever the fuck you want to call them, products, is the quality of the miniature you're painting. If what you're painting is basically an amorphous plastic blob, it'll show very strongly. Will it show? And I think it's quite evident from what you've got in front of you on the table there that the miniatures are good.
Well, again, see,
For the money, I would say that the miniatures are actually, for the value in terms of the money, I would say they're great miniatures.
Yes, they are. I mean, again, look at the stream just before Christmas when I had it delivered and took it all apart.
Yeah.
And compared apples with apples. So Danor and Olaf got compared to the first edition counterparts.
Yeah. They are significant.
The second good thing.
Well, now you pick a good thing now, because again, I don't want to give the impression that we are on this
negative Nancy's.
Yeah, I don't think, and again, we're not hating on it. We will have some criticisms. Don't you worry about that. But
so
we're not
OG,
totally down on it.
OG first edition. Once you're dead, you're dead. Once one player is dead, the DM wins the campaign or wins that mission.
Yeah, the Overlord wins the game.
Second
effectively.
edition. When the player dies, they use their revive token to revive and stand back up completely unarmed. Kind of video game-esque to a degree.
Yeah, it's like a respawn, single-use respawn, isn't it?
When they use that token, it is then handed over to the Overlord to give them an interrupt. So, as standard, the DM gets 4 interrupts to use, and they're one use only. Once they use, they're thrown away. But depending upon your player count, you could have up to 8 interrupts based on you absolutely wheelhousing and burning through players and getting them to spend their revive tokens.
Yeah.
Because the second point being, when you die the second time, guess what, buddy? You're fucking dead.
Yeah. Your player character, your character is out of the game. You better hope there's not long to go, because you're going to be sitting there twiddling your thumbs. But yeah, the revive mechanic works really well. I had to use it, or I think we used it probably in both games. And it's a really effective way to basically give the players a chance to not get binned by bad dice rolls, because you've always got that button to refresh yourself.
And yes, you do lose a turn out of it, but it's not the end of the world.
Yeah. Another positive, the original game was very similar to a lot of other dungeon crawler board games or that sort of thing, where and a lot of the historical products like Warhammer Quest were like this. You had cardboard tiles that represented individual rooms or locations, and then when you wanted to build your play map or play area, you had to place all of those individual card tiles down in a specific arrangement, obviously. That was incredibly time consuming, but gave you an almost infinite amount of flexibility in the way that you laid out your play area. So
And allowed you customization options to build your own
yes,
tiles, etc., or integrate the use of 3D or other tiles if you played this game system with multiple different things.
Yeah. The new system incorporates, what are they, about 10-inch square cardboard tiles, mate?
Yeah, I can't lean. Give me a second.
They're basically cardboard tiles that are about 10 inches squarish, and each cardboard tile is pre-printed with, say, 6 to 8 rooms that are defined by walls. Like, there we go.
Those people at home watching, so you've got individual rooms. So we've got 3 by 3, 4, 5, a 4 by 3, corridor set that sort of runs around the edge, and some other rooms.
Okay.
And they are double-sided, so there is versatility in that regard. And then you obviously put your door tokens on to represent your doors and your adjoining rooms for situations.
Yeah.
Setup time 10 times quicker, I would say.
I would definitely list this in the positives in terms of change.
There is a minor con, and we'll come to that later.
You have it cannot be argued you have sacrificed some of your variability and flexibility, but the trade-off in terms of speed of setup is huge. And you can still do a lot, because obviously doors are placed as overlays, so you can have different door locations.
Furniture is all overlays as well.
Yeah, you don't have to place the tiles symmetrically. You can place them asymmetrically and create quite interesting lineups. We've not even got into experimenting with that, but for various reasons, I think that is a very positive change. Have you got anything else positive?
I'm just trying to think. I'll tell you what is a positive compared to first edition.
Yep.
The fact that the Dungeon Master now doesn't have a deck to draw from.
Yeah, and I would say that the main advantage for this is where the other game could be customized. Because the Overlord assets, because he had a deck of cards that he drew from, and because you had to have effectively a monster sheet to run as the Overlord, which listed the valid monster types that you were allowed, etc., and any special rules, it was upgradable, but it wasn't exactly a job for somebody with no experience or confidence. This new system is way easier, because you effectively
build new monster profiles. That's it.
Yeah, that's it. Basically, create new monster profiles and you're done. There isn't really any other assets that you need to mess about with.
It allows you as the DM Overlord character to activate as many miniatures as you want. You're not reliant on the RNG of the card deck.
Yeah, because you just literally get to activate everything once.
You can always bring your A game.
Yeah.
And in the back of the book, they do make some recommendations on like homebrewing it and activating multiple models with an interrupt action or that kind of thing to make it less predictable for your players you're playing with. But at the end of the day, it is still a core game where you can do what you want and play with what you want. The counterpoint is spawning. So you used to be able to, in first edition, spawn if you're playing the Necromancy Dwarf King's Quest scenario, there were some cards that allowed you to add extra bone piles to the map or summon some monsters. If you already had the bone piles in play, there is not that kind of same level. Dan will come to that later. There is something on this. So That's where we're at on the pros list. I don't think we've missed anything, do you?
I'm just trying to think. I don't think there is anything
Miniatures
else.
are good quality. The deck's gone, so it makes customization easier.
The tiles are speed advantage for setup.
Play.
No, I think that pretty much covers the headline positives. If we think of any more, we can just shout them out. But I think that's the meat and potatoes of it, mate. Now let's talk about some of the things that we think were a complete miss.
Well, hang on. Before we come to the complete miss,
Yeah.
shall we come to some of the cons of the positives?
Yeah, you can. Well, if you want to do the. So, some of the things that we've listed as pluses are definitely not things that come without consequences in the round. So, they are positives in a way and negatives in another. So, give us an example then, mate.
So, for those metagaming pigeons out there, when we have a map, we reveal doors and do stuff as we go. So as the players enter a new room, the next door into the next room opens up. That's fine and dandy. On certain layouts of these tiles and on certain missions that are built, there are empty rooms. There is now a new mechanic in the game called exploring, and you sit in the corridor and take an explore action. If there's any secret doors on the map, the DM reveals them. What it then means is if the players see this room on the map, because nothing connects to it, they run around all of the other rooms trying to find the fucking entrance, taking explore actions.
Because why wouldn't
Which is like,
you?
okay, it's not too bad. However, the explore deck is fucking horrible.
Yeah, I think
so random in giving you good shit and getting your ass hammered. It is really, it's worse than even a roll of a dice to decide what's happening.
I think this is probably the biggest, for me, miss with this redesign of Dungeon Saga. So one of the things that we homebrewed into the old one was a search mechanic, if you like, a take an action that involves interacting with a piece of furniture or interacting with a room to do a game-based action. So what they've done in this game is they've done the same thing. They've put in the search action, which basically does that. So if there is a piece of if there's a lever or a switch or a secret door, this is the action that allows you to interact with that game element. The problem is 99% of the time when you're doing a search action and there isn't a specific narrative element to interact with, like a secret door or a mission-based element in a room, you draw randomly, as David says, from the exploration deck. Now, the exploration deck is fucking evil. It's got a mixture of treasure cards, but it's also got cards that spawn monsters, traps. We initially did some, basically to tell you how it went. When Ricky and I started playing, we were like all over this searching shit. And we were just like, we'd kill the monsters in a room and then let's search for treasure. So we'd search, trap, one of us takes some damage. Okay, that's fine. Well, in the next room, we'll search after we've killed the bad guys. Oh, you get a wandering monster and we got something else to kill. Okay, fine. Third time we did it. Oh, look, it's another wandering monster. We didn't draw any treasure.
Better than that, when you find or stumble across a treasure chest in a room or a treasure pile,
yeah, this is a good one.
2 cards to promote the fact that it is dangerous searching for treasure. They drew 2 cards. They drew 2 wandering monsters, and because I rolled like a demon, I got 4 wandering monsters out of the situation.
So and our room with
what?
and our room with a chest became more of a liability than it was basically just a nightmare. So essentially, what we did was, after about 3 turns of this, Ricky and I said, "Searching's out. We won't do it. It's making the game too hard. It's ridiculous. It's not giving us any rewards of anything consequence." So basically, they've added this new mechanic, and you'd never do it. You'd be out of your fucking mind to do it. The only time that you will ever use the search mechanic is, like David said before, if you're trying to find a secret door to open up an area, and you know it's got to be here somewhere because you can see the bits of the map and there are no door tiles down. So you will go into the neighbouring rooms or corridors and search just to get the DM to reveal the secret door. If you don't need to do that, don't search. It's not worth it. It's just going to get you killed. Orinoco, you're already getting ahead of us. It's to basically, with the original Dungeon Saga, it was a flawed piece of work. We spent months tinkering it, tweaking it, turning it into D&D light and making it what we wanted it to be. We will do exactly the same with this, and you're dead right. First thing that we'll do is look at the exploration deck, look at how it works, and try and make it so that it's a worthwhile activity in the game, because the idea is brilliant. The implementation and the execution, for me, is completely flawed. Because there just isn't any reason to do it. It's so dangerous and such a liability. If you plan to play the scenario and want to win it, just don't search any more than you have to. And for me, that's a massive fail.
Again, if you've added something into the game that after a game and a half the players are like, you know what, this new mechanic really isn't the one.
Yeah.
What was the point in adding it?
Yeah, and I think it was testament. That is the acid test. When you're playing this game, I think most players will decide very quickly, searching is too dangerous. Don't bother with it. And at that point, the whole mechanic has failed in its purpose.
Because again, unlike in OG First Edition, where the DM had extra cards in hand to spawn extra monsters and reinforcements, that's all gone. So if your players aren't exploring and drawing wandering monsters for you, guess what, DM? You're going to have a very shit time.
Another negative, or another fail of the game is spellcasters.
Oh my god.
Okay, so spellcasters in the original Dungeon Saga, the magic user specifically, because there was this weird mechanism where you created crystals, the actual system where you had spells that had cooldown time, so you rotated it 90, 180, and then the spell had to reorient over 3 turns for you could cast it again. I agree. There was the only flaw with that was people forgetting to rotate their cards at the beginning of their turn. So you lost track of, should I have turned that back last turn, or should I have not, or can I cast this now? Can anybody remember? That was an issue. But apart from the cognitive burden on the player playing the wizard, it actually worked quite well, because if you had your...
I found the fly. The fly's decided to drown himself
Good
in
man.
my painting wash water.
Clever lad. If you had a flame bolt attack, you could use it. Then you can't use it next turn because it's got a cooldown. Bang. Then you can use it again. So every other turn, you had a reasonably good ranged attack with your wizard.
Unless you had Crystallize. Crystallize was a spell that you played with a 1-turn cooldown, that you rolled a dice and it gave you a crystal.
Yeah.
That crystal you can either powder up to add dice to your pool,
which is huge,
throwing dice in attacks and your spells, etc. You can turn a 3 dice into a 5 dice if you burn a level 2. Turn a 3 dice into a 6 dice if you burn a level 3 because you roll 6 on your crystallize. Really good. And then all those shitty little level 1 crystals that you got, you can grind them up and quicken your spell recharge time. So it can take from a 2-turn spell down to a 1-turn spell for recharging.
Or
Awesome.
even sell them at the end of the game for more cash. So, in summary, spellcasters had their issues in the original. Their answer to it is to wholly simplify the magic user character. They've taken out all of the crystal cobblers. You don't choose spells from a wide variety of schools anymore, and you don't choose individual spells. Basically, the wizard character
You choose a school.
chooses 2 schools of magic and takes all of the spells from those 2 schools, and he can cast.
Which is three
it-
spells per school.
I think it's 3 each. I wasn't sure if it was 3 or
3
4.
or
But
4.
you get 6 or 8 spells. I can't remember which it is. I think it's 6, 3 from each, and you can cast each of those spells once per game.
And only once.
And
once you've cast it, guess what? Discard that fucking card. It doesn't exist anymore. You've burnt the powerful magic.
so say you take the pyromancy discipline, you only have 2 offensive spells in that. So effectively your wizard has 2 attacks for the whole game. Yeah. Doesn't really work, is all I'll say. The first game, I took one of the Kickstarter exclusive characters. It's like a dark elf sorcerer thing, isn't it?
Elf Warlock.
Yeah, elf warlock. And even though I had an ability that allowed me to get one of my spells back from the discard to recast it, I had to cast all of my spells first. And some of them are so situational and useless.
And roll a 5 up.
Oh, and roll a dice, yeah. I couldn't even just do it. I had to get... I only had a 33% chance of doing it. It's like, yeah, it's a great feat. Awesome. Once per game action. Yay. Basically, I can understand why, but spellcasters have been nerfed into the fucking ground. Essentially, when you are playing this game, you will choose your characters for the first 2 that you want to get the job done, and your mage is very much the third choice support option. He's very fragile.
So, see, in first edition, you had like 3 classes. You had your mage, your DPS damage output guy, and your tank. Your tank was heavily armoured, usually did some buffing for improving other miniatures, or was just an absolute freight train of a dwarf. Rodin, we're looking at you. We now go to second edition. Mages aren't even blast cannons and DPS anymore. They are just one-shot wonders.
Also, they're support. The thing is, mages now are support, because like even if you take 2, because we looked at.
Even really support.
Well,
though,
they are because
again,
if you look at.
but again, Hydromancy has the healing spells in, yeah.
No, it has 1 healing spell.
No, this is my point. Healing spells in inverted commas. It's 1 spell that affects 1 model.
And then it has 1 spell that moves enemy models away 2 squares by like a wave of force. But when I say support, mate, this is the thing with the wizard. The wizard now has some very unusual effects that will definitely have niche uses when they're great. But you're effectively taking one of your mainline characters and saying, well, you just need to look for opportunities to get your cool shit off and leave us to just hack at the enemy. That it's just not viable. Like, we were running a 2-player game. It's absolutely not viable to bring a spellcaster in a 2-player game. And here's another reason.
Realised a pro we missed.
Okay.
you are now able to walk through people.
Oh,
If
yes.
you're a friendly
This-
hero, you can walk through a friendly hero to another square. If
This
you're an
is
enemy,
huge.
you can walk through other enemies to a square. You can't occupy the same square, but you can walk through one another.
This is
Gone are the days
huge.
of a dwarf in a hallway holding back a wave of 15 undead skeletons.
Well, that still happens because enemies can't move through heroes. But what it
Yes.
doesn't do is, like, you don't get a situation where your dwarf is tied up in combat and now he's blocking the corridor or the doorway, because you can just move through the dwarf into the squares beyond the dwarf as long as you've got the movement. So if you need to help him, you're not trapped outside the room, you just move through him so that you can engage the enemy as well. So you're right, mate, this is a massive plus. It's a tiny tweak of the rules, but it makes bottlenecking in Dungeon Saga was a massive problem. If you deliberately wanted to do it as the Overlord, you could be a complete twat about literally blocking things so that the players couldn't move. They would literally time out the scenario because they could not move past you.
Part of it as well is now the tiles help with that also.
Yes,
Because most of the corridors are too wide, whereas in the first edition you had your rooms and then the corridors were actually quite tight and narrow spaces.
Yes, yeah, that definitely feeds into it and definitely would qualify as another positive. So, yeah, spellcasters don't work. I just don't really know what they were going for, if I'm honest. And another thing that feeds off this, and perhaps goes to explain it a little as well, is that in the old game, the scalability, the Overlord had this command deck of cards, and you scaled the number of cards in the deck and how many you drew per turn based on the number of players. So the game scaled to a certain degree with the player count. It was a bit crude, it wasn't very refined, but it was some sort of scaling with player group. The missions you've got in your books do not scale in any way between 2 and 4 players, do they?
No.
So regardless of how many players turn up to play, the monsters are the same, the room layouts are the same, the objectives are the same, and this is what makes the thing about the wizard bizarre, because it's really apparent. You know, it's like, oh, what, you didn't bring 2 guys that could kick us in combat? Well, you're screwed.
There was another con we were thinking of, but I can't remember what it was.
Oh, I haven't run out of momentum yet, in terms of the cons.
You need the Salt Shaker, not me.
Yeah. So we've... Go on. Let's discuss the Kickstarter issue and the balance. Tell them about Game 2.
So in Game 2, have you got the picture?
No, I haven't got it to hand at the minute, but I will sort it while you talk.
Sort getting it to hand. So, actually, before we go to the Kickstarter, let's go to the other egregious thing.
Okay.
Dungeon Saga version 1 was as what we said. Campaign light, D&D light. Take your players, build them through the campaign, unlock cool shit, do cool shit. Get rewarded for doing it, whether that be XP for levels and the leveling system that came with the Adventures Companion of pick X and Y if you built your own characters, or if you were playing the core game, characters getting cool legendary items and other bits and pieces. Gone are the days of that. Now, you rock up to a campaign, there is very little blurb on what is actually happening. There is just a get in, this is what your mission is, get out, or get through it to your next goal. and it feels so papered on and veneered. Yes, in DS1 we had 6 scenarios per campaign. We now have 10 scenarios per campaign, and I'm using the word campaign very lightly there because to me it doesn't at all feel like a campaign game of building and leveling and going through. It's literally run and gun dungeons. I don't know how you feel.
I think a couple of the games that the second mission that we played literally had about 1.5 lines of actual story text. I mean, don't get me wrong, I can understand, for those of you who know Arkham Horror Living card game, the Scarlet Keys expansion, which was the last campaign that they released for that living card game.
We just
it
go
got
to fucking Arkham Horror the board game, where you have a little A5 card and it's virtually full of 8-point text to set the scene.
Let me explain why the LCG failed on the opposite spectrum. So, like the Scarlet Keys expansion, between games, it literally had like an A4, I think it is, maybe slightly smaller storybook, and you might have to read 2 or 3 full pages of text between games. It's a lot. It's a novella. It's a fucking short story. That's not what we want. That's too much the other way. David has just mentioned Arkham Horror, the board game. Now, the board game, you get like a mission card, don't you, mate? And there's most of the blurb is on the mission card, and it's 3 paragraphs of story.
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that. Just set the scene. Brilliant, fantastic. For the Dungeon Saga,
we have 2 lines.
Yeah, it's a little bit thin, shall we say. Now, it could be that the actual core game storybook is much better written, and it could be that these other Kickstarter extra campaigns are literally a bit thin because there weren't that much work gone into them.
Hang on. Hang on.
So that is a possibility, but that will bring us to another of our complaints in a minute. This, while David's rootling around, you can see, although the orientation's a bit screwy, this was the game in progress. Bottom left is the exploration deck, and you can just see our character cards and the dice tray off screen, but it gives you a rough idea of what the map layout looks like. I mean, the artwork is beautiful, the colours on it are fantastic, the quality...
No, Paul. The core games are no longer.
Okay, so that was worth a check, but no, okay.
For reference, you get that.
Yeah, okay. And that's in the original scenario from...
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
So they've gone a bit... the quality of the components, the production, can't fault it. I think that's fair, don't you?
There is an audio introduction option or an OCO that you can log in and use. It's okay, and I get you don't necessarily want to pay voice actors to read a lot. Totally get that point of view. But it's gone from one extreme to the other. It was probably slightly too long previously, and we've now swung completely the other way. We have 2.5 lines to set the scene.
I'll be honest, obviously in the original Dawkins Quest, you had like 3 columns to an A4 page layout. You probably only ever had a column and a half to read. I thought it was quite well done. It was certainly something that didn't need minimising or removing, in my opinion. And it is only my opinion. I think, to be fair, what's apparent is in the design they've leaned into the board game they've leaned into what this is a board game. This is not RPG Light. This is just a board game.
And this is noted by the removal of the adventure's companion to build your own models and races.
Yeah. Which is another con we'll come to in a minute. So we were talking about Kickstarter, right? Well, let's finish talking about the scenarios. Our fix, if we'd been Mantic, what we'd have done is designed 10 or 15 absolutely top draw killer standalone scenarios.
Like one shot, so to speak,
Yeah.
if we're going to the RPG analogy.
The campaign booklet thing, because it's not been done really very thoroughly or properly, I don't understand why you took that, why they did it that way. It doesn't work.
Very sort of wallpapered on over the cracks.
Yeah. But let's talk about balance. So in the first game, as we've already said, we got absolutely fucking hammered. I got killed, and Ricky did just made it to the staircase to exit the level and complete the scenario, after we'd basically ignored everything we didn't have to interact with, speed ran it, and tried not to die. Okay? I said, while Ricky and David went on a vape break, I was like, okay, well, my character as a spellcaster does not work. So I'm going to look through look through the other characters, and I'll try and pick something that's definitely going to be effective. So I picked Svereg Ravenbolt, is it? The dwarf?
This little dwarven dickhead with a crossbow.
And yeah, exactly, Darren. They should have just done 10 to 15 scenarios they could have played the shit out of and fine-tuned them. Maybe even taken those 10 scenarios and put like 2-player, 3-player, 4-player variant setups so that it was balanced for the number of players. They could have just put so much more attention into them in coming up with, what have you got? Four storybooks with about 5 or 6 each, so it's about 24?
No,
more
10 missions per book.
So it's 40.
4 books.
It's too much.
Plus an extra 2 sprinkled on the top.
Yeah, but
that are use everything.
Yeah,
so there's 42 quests.
But if they'd have done 15 good ones, this would have had way more longevity for me. So yeah, my character is completely different. Basically, he's a ranged attacking, close combat attacking, reasonably armoured. I'm a jack of all trades, not really master of any, but 4 dice in range combat is pretty good. Then I had 400 gold to spend, so I bought myself a shield, which is a fantastic item because it basically allows me to ignore damage on a 5-up. And then David started dealing out the Kickstarter exclusive legendary items at random.
Oh, no. I dealt out the legendary deck randomly.
And I got this absolutely busted piece of crap. I can't remember what it was called, but I can tell you, essentially, what I was able to do with this magic item was, when David rolled his dice to attack me, I was able to, after he'd rolled all of his dice, just make one go away. Not
Night him.
So not make him re-roll it, but just make that dice go away. So that immediately created a 1 dice advantage for me in whatever combat I was in, because I would roll the same number of defense dice. But I could basically say, oh, you rolled a 6, that can fuck off. And I got to do this every time I was attacked. Not once per turn.
No cooldown.
Essentially, in the first game, Ricky and I got completely owned. In the second mission, basically, we completely destroyed it. You absolutely
trashed the DM.
It wasn't fun at all. We literally just rolled over the game. And the conclusion we came to was these Kickstarter exclusive extras, nobody's playtested any of this. If they did, they were on drugs or asleep or whatever. But
again, even the characters between Kickstarter exclusive and the non-Kickstarter stuff, you can tell that there's a massive difference.
Yeah.
There is a lot more high armor, high damage, either melee or ranged, in the Kickstarter exclusives before you even get to bolting on fucking hymns and prayers and everything else that certain characters have access to.
But there are loopholes as well, like my elf sorcerer, whose main special once per game feat ability was dog shit. Get one of your spells.
On a dice roll.
Get one of your spells back 33% of the time. What? Meanwhile, you've got people like the elf who can shoot 3 targets in one turn, once per game, mind you. But that's no, fucking only 10% of the time. It's just nobody play tested any of this. They can't have done. They must have literally just been
with their eyes closed.
They were just chucking shit at the wall. And this comes back to what we said before about crowdfunding. These are the sort of campaigns that are just it looks fantastic to give all these fucking extra things for free, but if they're dog shit and broken, and basically you would never play with them unless you were completely mad, don't give them away anyway. Don't even put them out there.
Looking at the God Pledge versus the retail edition, it's like, why would you ever buy the retail edition similar to League?
Yeah.
Because there was so much extra in the God Pledge. And yes, some of it is broken, and we will fix it as a pair. But at the same time, it's just like, why? Why did we bother?
Well, I think the other thing that makes this...
You could have put that energy into, as we've already discussed tonight, adding some more scenarios or having more of a campaign feel to the game.
Yeah.
Than what it is itself. And this ties in with the loss of the adventurer's companion.
Well, and experience in general. So do you want to explain... Let me explain how the old game...
Let me just dodge out the room, because it's literally in the next room.
Okay, so let me explain what the old game did. So, in old Dungeon Saga, you had experience that you gained at the end of an adventure. You only got 1 experience for completing an adventure, and then you could buy upgrade cards that gave you special abilities that, you could use, like block, or was like a warrior one, or you could get various different things. But also during the game, you had a natty little system of gold stars. When you killed a monster, you earned a little gold star. And when you had, I believe it was 5 gold stars, you could then discard the 5 stars that you'd accumulated to get an extra dice on a test. Now, because of the way the dice mechanic is, I don't want to go into it too much here because it's probably going to be tedious, but the number of dice that you throw during an attack or a defense is critical. Having not enough dice to actually attack or defend is a very quick way to die in this game, or at least end up in a situation where you're at handbags at dawn and nobody can damage anybody else. Because you're just fishing for 6s. Yeah. So in the old game you had your experience points to upgrade, and you had, I don't even know what it was called, but you had the little gold star system that allowed you to accumulate and then buy extra dice to use, a bit like a D&D inspiration mechanic.
Experience kind of thing.
Yeah, but it wasn't experience points, because that was the thing that you got at the end of the game, wasn't it? You got 1 experience point for finishing a mission. Anyway, so that was the old game, and it worked fine, actually. I mean, it was a bit basic bitch, but it got the job done, don't you think?
Yeah.
Now tell everybody about how it works in the new game.
What, for XP?
Yeah.
You
So-
get none.
Yeah.
Unless it's the start of a scenario. What else would you like me to elaborate on, sir?
Yeah, so the doors swung back a bit the other way. You get no experience. There's no little gold star system. You basically, you can spend, you get experience at the start of your scenario, don't you?
Yeah, I think they've swung it back the other way to make it more even. Do you know what I mean? Because again, previously...
Explain.
You used to have the DPS guys and the guys running around doing all the final killing moves on monsters kind of thing, getting the XP tokens.
Yes.
Whereas now it just really doesn't matter. Everybody's getting the same.
That is true, but then again, in the old game, even if you were a wizard, you were probably blasting with shit apart with firebolts every other turn, weren't you?
Yeah.
So everybody was in the game. Because effectively, it is a combat game. I mean, Jesus Christ, it's only role-play light. It's not as if you need somebody who's got a high persuasion skill, or fucking, you know... it is a combat game. It's a tactical board game, for fuck's sake. So putting anybody in it who's not going to be killing stuff seems utterly redundant. But again, the gold star system was different to experience, because even if you were the wizard and didn't kill anybody during the whole game, you still got your experience point at the end for finishing, didn't you?
Yeah, and you just traded those gold stars in for dice rolls.
Yeah, during the game. Exactly, during the game. They weren't worth anything at the end of the game. As I say, the old system worked fine. In the new system, basically, you get awarded a number of XP at the beginning of a scenario as appropriate for the difficulty of the scenario. With those experience points, you can buy natty little buffs. So for
boons and upgrades where you can, for example, add extra dice to your defense roll, add extra dice to your attacks.
Yeah.
You can buy a legendary buff for 7 XP that allows you to use both of your player character feats in a single game. Those one-use only super abilities, you can use each one of those once, because usually you pick them at the start of the game.
Yeah, and you're thinking to yourself, 7 XP, so that's a legendary upgrade. That must be pretty cool, right? Well, no, because you spend your 7 XP, you get to do it once, and then it fucking goes away. You've effectively lost all of that experience. So, in terms of character development and experience, basically there's no point. There isn't any of it in the game at all.
And this is what we tied in with the fact of it feels very veneered campaign-wise.
Yeah, I don't understand at all why they just didn't go the whole hog, lean into it all the way and say, these are single-play one-off missions. You get this pool of money and experience to buy upgrades. Buy the upgrades you want, rag out the scenario, go for it. Because that's effectively what you do.
Or one of the final cons.
Yeah, go on. What else have you got?
Do the boys and girls at home know this board and the fact that it's got little individual square tiles on it to represent where your player characters can stand in the game?
Yes.
Get the salt shaker.
Okay, hang on.
Can
Go.
anybody tell me the difference between these squares here and the shape of this man's base?
That's definitely a double shake. Yes, Orinoco, there is less to track from game to game, but it also means that effectively the campaign element is just words. There isn't any character development.
Why, Mantic, did you choose to do all of your fucking squares in fucking squares and then not put the miniatures on fucking square bases? They're on rounds, and I've got to arbitrarily mark the facing of each of the miniatures because guess what? In this game, facing is important.
Yeah, facing is huge.
Fuck me.
I do not, for the life of me, understand this at all. And again, now's a good time to talk about so David.
Gen 1 DS1. Square bases, pre-textured, with cobblestone.
So they looked like a dungeon floor. They looked fantastic. Well, they looked okay.
Gen 2.
Let's calm down a bit.
We're on rounds, and they're smoother than a baby's arse.
And they're essentially welded to the miniature.
Yes.
I mean, I know people are taking
Jerry's
them.
got all of his onto squares. Yes, Jerry will have done, because Jerry will have been triggered.
Yeah, I know Jerry's put the work in, but I'd be interested to find out how hard it was for Jerry to do that. Because it just... Some of the ways... the miniatures...
The second issue.
Go on then.
With the squares.
Oh, yeah,
the fact that they're all on 25mm rounds, and the grid itself is exactly 25mm.
Yeah, this I don't understand.
The walls overhang the squares ever so slightly. So consequently, some of the squares are slightly less than 25mm, and your miniature is technically inside a wall. And secondly, when you put furniture onto the table, your player character knocks all of the little cardboard tokens around.
Yeah, this is a big issue when you're playing the game. You are constantly pushing furniture door tokens offline, struggling to squeeze miniatures into where they should be. Why the fuck did they not just put it on a 30mm grid with 25mm bases? Why? You know, I mean, do you know what? I've thought of a positive that we haven't mentioned, that we forgot about. In the old game, there were range rulers, short and long, that you had to measure distances on the map for certain spell effects and shooting. Okay? They've done away with the range rulers. Everything that needs... anything that needs its range measuring or whatever is stated in the card effect. So it'll say do X within 6 squares, or choose a model within 4 squares, and blah blah blah. So you don't need the rulers. It's brilliant. Like it. Clean.
With the board design now as well, there's no arguing the toss over range with the range ruler. It is literally now arbitrarily, can you see them, can you not see them? Because of the tile layout, there's no big rooms with massive line of sight across them.
So there's another couple of positives. Yeah, the whole line of sight thing works a lot cleaner. But fuck me.
Overall, I know we've been a bit negative Nancy, and we're 8 minutes before the end of stream. Miniatures, top class. The game itself is Dungeon Saga 1. Our criticism is we modded the shit out of Dungeon Saga 1 to turn it into what we wanted to play with.
Yeah.
As an RPG light of something we can rock up to club with and play. And we made it work. We bastardized it into what we wanted. Dungeon Saga Origins suffers from the same flaws as the original Dungeon Saga does, in our opinion. And this is the entire caveat of tonight's show, is all of this is our opinion and our point of view on matters.
Yes,
Other
definitely.
people may love this game.
Your mileage may vary, as they say.
So we now have to bastardize Dungeon Saga Origins into what we made DS1 to have a similar play experience, because at the moment it's not necessarily the best for us as a player group for what we want.
And I'm not saying that there won't be players out there for whom all of the changes are positive and all of the negatives aren't negatives for them. But the thing that my takeaway on this is, it is no better or worse than DS1. DS1 was a flawed product that required some attention to get it to be good. DS Origins is the same thing. For every step they took forward, they took one back.
Darren and Dan, we'll discuss that in a second of Dungeon Game and possible League of Infamy. Because finish your point and then we'll come on to it. Mate.
Well, I, to be honest with you, mate, I pretty much had finished. I was literally just saying, for me, no one game is better than the other. They are both great little frameworks that if you want to tinker with them and turn them into something fun, they both have huge potential, and they're very, very simple to modify and mess about with. If you're wanting a really good, tight, tactical board game out the gate, don't buy this.
Go buy Tindaya or Everdell.
Yeah, just buy a different board game or a different dungeon crawling board game. So the thing is, I haven't played many dungeon crawling board games because they're not really my bag. And I wouldn't even say that I've played a good one yet because Gloomhaven's flawed as fuck. See our previous streams.
How much of my changes in DS1 can I bring into Dungeon Saga Origins? A few of them. But to be fair, there's so much that's different that needs changing. Like the exploration deck needs looking at and changing. The creatures we can just lift and carry. I need to look at some of the characters as well. We've got the spellcasters to look at possibly as well. It's a lot of changes.
A lot of the changes we made to the original one were to do with win conditions, loss conditions, and how the Overlord works. Because actually, we've only got a few minutes, so I'll keep it brief. Here's another con. In the old game, like David said at the beginning, it was brutally hard to win if the Overlord played a smart game and played his A game. If he was a good board gamer, he would smash your face in. Because basically, if one character died, or you timed out, i.e. the Overlord drew all of his cards, game was over. Okay? So, unless the Overlord literally did stupid things like not targeting the weakest character, sharing the monsters out fairly to the people who could actually kill them, and if the Overlord didn't play ball, the game was brutally difficult. So one of the things we did was refine that and change all of that.
We added a
This game's gone the other way because there is now no timer on the game. Because the Overlord is way toned down, you get a situation where like our second game, once you've got powerful characters, you can just march it. You're just like, I think I took 1 damage off a die roll. David didn't hit me with any.
Yeah, it was off the boa blowing up.
Yeah, it was just off a random d6 roll. If he rolled a 6, I took a damage. I couldn't do anything about it. He did not put a single damage on my dwarf with an attack. He didn't put a single damage on my dwarf with a trap. I was literally just rolling over his game. And the pendulum swung massively the other way. Now, there's no pressure.
If you compare this board game, Dungeon Saga Origins, to League for me is the better game.
Yeah, I would totally agree, having only played it once, caveat.
Still has the Dungeon Master mechanic, but the best thing about League is the players interact with one another and stab the shit out of one another. It means that as a party, yes, you're all working towards a shared goal, but there's that shenanigans and backstabbing at the table that A, helps the Overlord, and B, there's the reinforcement mechanic and other bits and pieces in Infamy from a Dungeon Master's point of view that makes the game more enjoyable. Yes, Infamy is a lot of one-shot scenarios. It is 6 one-shot scenarios and there is no more expansion for it at the moment. However, it plays better, it feels better, and the biggest thing that we've not even spoken about is the fact that in Infamy, if you have 5 movement and it's 6 squares to get to that enemy character that you want to hit the fuck out of, guess what? You take 5 steps, that is your movement characteristic, and then you step up into combat for your final one. Or you're in combat, you kill the guy, then you step away.
Sorry, everyone. There was probably a little bit of echo there, but that's because I was just starting up my phone again for
the movement shenanigans in Infamy. Make
oh
it
yeah,
a way better game.
yeah. There are some subtle rule variations. I've only played it once, so I don't want to go into it too much. I'm not really speaking from an expert authority, really. I don't. I need to play it at least once more, probably twice more, before I can say. And really, the only reason that we're basing, I think, the confidence we've got for this opinion of DS Origins is that it is basically DS1. That this is the other thing that pisses me off about this. This is an update, right?
Yeah, it's an update, but it feels more like my first fucking board game.
It's like if you were doing it properly, it should have been small steps forward. But it's like I said, for every step forward, there's a why. Why did you do that?
They've given with one hand, but taken away with another.
Yeah. So I mean, I bounce it back. I bounce it back to you guys. Does anybody have? Shout it out now. Is there a dungeon crawling board game? So I'm not talking about an RPG, but a dungeon crawling board game that you would say, this game does these things well, and it's pretty... I mean, no game's going to be flawless. I'm not asking for that. But if you have a suggestion, stick it in the chat now. Or, if you're watching later on YouTube, stick it in the comments. I was actually looking at buying some new... I know that Tales from Red Dragon Inn is getting a lot of good press. I think that came out last year. As a dungeon crawling board game, because I was looking, I probably want to pick up a new board game this year. Ideally, I don't want it to be too heavy or have a lot of minis, but yes, I mean, like a really good dungeon crawler board game could actually be something I'd look at, because what I've got at the moment are pretty fucking flawed. Are we pretty much done, mate?
I think we are.
I mean, we rate Mantic, don't we? I think we still rate.
Yes, we do.
We still rate Mantic. We still like Mantic. We're not. We know.
Armada's good. Kings of War is good.
I would just sort of say, really, this was a misstep. And I know Ronnie has already said that all the character development stuff that was in the Adventurer's Companion, all the proper advancement stuff, the experience, it's all coming out later. He had Space Hulk. Good shout, mate. Yeah, that's the one I've got. I know Ronnie said that they're going to release a load of supplementary stuff. Yeah, they are, I think. That should be pretty good, because Mantic do treat their licenses really well, which is smart.
And again, the Worms game looks good. We'll see how it is when it arrives in August.
Yeah, because you backed that, didn't you, mate?
Yeah.
I mean, some of the ones they've had before, and I know people speak. The Walking Dead was like, it developed almost cult status, and I think they're bringing it back from what I saw on the news. What's that cartoon character, the big red guy? Fucking hell, what's he called? Oh, what's that big red demon? Hellboy. Yes.
Hellboy.
The Hellboy board game, again, it achieved almost cult status. I don't think I heard anybody say a bad thing about that ever. So, you know, it looks very good for Halo. Yeah, thanks, Orinoco. Yeah, Hellboy. Because, as I say, Mantic do a very good job generally with their licenses, which is, if you want to keep getting good licenses, is something that you need to do, isn't it?
Yeah.
Otherwise, people won't fucking...
touch you with a barge pole.
Yeah, people won't indulge you again. I'm just going to try... Cancel. So I was going to try and do my mobile cam, but it's not going to play ball. I'll just show everybody what progress I've made. I've got some blues on this guy at the front, so he's no longer just white. Sorry, the lighting is terrible, but I can't get my desk cam to work. So that's what I've managed to get achieved done.
I got some, what's it called down? Metallics down.
Yep.
My goblins are virtually finished now.
They look looking good. Also, if anybody has got any tips, so we'll overrun a little bit just talking about basing. So obviously the ideal scenario is David cuts every single model off its round base and puts it on one of the cool Dungeon Saga squares that you can still buy cheaply by the bag from places like Wayland or Mantic themselves, to actually make his models look fantastic. Does anybody have any other good ideas how he can put a dungeon-like texture on those round bases?
Because I can't use a green stuff world roller, because it, guess what, isn't going to roll across the base with the mini attached to it.
And obviously if he's cutting the mini off, he may as well just change the fucking base. So we're looking for solutions where we can do a dungeon
fight without cutting it off.
Yeah, and it not look crap, and more importantly, it not take forever, because we've got a lot of minis to base. But yeah, again, if you're watching later on YouTube, put it in the comments. Give us a link to a video.
Section.
This craft foam stuck on. What, you mean individually sculpt? Do you know what, plastic hard squares? I thought about that, Darren, because I tell you what, I don't know if you're not going to be able to see. I do like the Terminator miniatures from the 3rd edition Space Hulk, but they're really annoying in that they don't come on bases. They just have like a plastic thing that runs between the legs, like a puddle base. And I was actually thinking I could get plastic card, cut it into scraps, and then paint it silver so that it looks like bent plates from the deck of a ship.
Flooring, yeah.
Yeah. Look, Paul, you're not helping, mate. So scrap them and start again.
It isn't ideal.
It's a problem. But yeah, any great ideas, just put them in the comments. Right, guys. So we hope you enjoyed that. We hope you enjoyed. We hope the review that we did of Dungeon Saga Origins will be useful to you. As I say, if you were thinking about getting Dungeon Saga Origins and you have the first one, my advice is don't bother unless you really, 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 really want upgraded miniatures. If you don't own the first one and you were going to buy it on the understanding that you're probably going to need to work on it to make it what you want it to be, because I don't think the game as it comes is something that will sing. I think it's going to need tender loving attention. Do you know what I mean?
The other thing is your mileage may vary, and
really small.
What we have said tonight is our opinion.
Yeah,
we might be completely and utterly wrong and have completely missed the mark.
Individual. I mean, I'm just chatting out a couple of comments here. Ewok says tiny little stones and paint over them. The problem with that is that could. I mean, it's yes. Yeah, you could literally.
But then it looks like their feet are in the fucking.
Not only that, how fucking time consuming is that going to be to get the stones looking ordered and neat? I do like Darren's idea. Was it Darren? No, Ewok's second idea, however, slate chips. Now, if you get small-ish slate chips, you might be able to fix them. Ooh, Hobby Cheating 229. That's Vince Venturella. Get it on YouTube. Thanks, Orinoco.
I'm going now.
Should get Mr. David to have a look at that, and we'll give you feedback on whether that was worth it. Thanks. That's really helpful, guys. Thanks for that. So let's wrap this show up before we carry on till 11 o'clock. Thank you very much for everybody who was here in the chat. As usual, you guys are awesome, and it's what makes this thing worth doing, frankly. If you are watching along on YouTube later, thank you very much. You're awesome as well. If you can only do one thing, please click the like button. It's a small thing for you, but it's a big thing for us. If you can do
so much with the algorithm, it gets us out there again. If you've got a friend or somebody that you think would enjoy our content, point them in our direction.
And you know what? Even if it doesn't help with the algorithm that much, with the number of views and likes we get, it means a lot to me, because it means that somebody found value in what we did, either as entertainment or information or just general bollocks. So yeah, we're done. Dungeon Saga done. Do not be afraid, do not worry, we will definitely be bringing back Dungeon Saga, because
we're gonna play some more games. We're gonna do some more stuff. We're gonna tweak it, and in 9 months' time, we will probably be singing its praises, because it will be what we want it to be.
And to be honest with you,
things take time.
Until we've tweaked it, toyed with it, and written our own first custom scenario, we won't really know what potential it has. The only thing that does bother me, the only thing that worries me about it, is the amount of changes we might have to make the way spellcasting works. But we will sort some shit out. We better go. Thank you very much, everybody, for watching, and we will see you next week.